Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. You are in store for an incredible conversation today. I am very excited for the young lady that I get to just hang out with for a few brief minutes. Before I introduce her, let me just tell you some of the things that she's done. She's an incredible singer-songwriter. She's worked with the likes of Miss Gladys Knight, Jeffrey Osborne, Luther, Toni Braxton, Whitney Houston. The fifth dimension, I probably will just say, who hasn't she worked with? She definitely is dynamite. She has a new project out, and we're going to talk about all that. This is the incredible Valerie Bailey. Valerie, what's happening, dear sister? How are you today?
Hey, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to have met you already. And the conversation we had was really cool. I'm like, okay, I met a friend. I'm meeting another, wonderful person, and that's for me, it's always about the person before what they do that is so cool. But yeah, so I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'm glad that you are here. Of course, we have to give shout outs to the brother who made it happen, my good friend and yours, Mr. Barry Coffing, who you just recently worked on a project with. Is that right?
Yeah, well, Barry's been a friend for a long time, and he's like, I just love your voice. We should do a project. So we took to it, and it's some say kind of Lenny Kravitz meets Tina Turner kind of vibe. And so yeah, we've done some couple of remakes and Fire by Jimi Hendrix, and then Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who, which we dropped about 30 days or so ago. So great things are happening with that. But Barry Coughing is the man.
He
Yep.
is absolutely the man. It's really interesting because when he first pitched your music to me, I didn't know as he was sending over just a website. And I thought, well, is this an EP? Is this an album? It really is a series of incredible singles. And you said it. I that was my first hit. Tina Turner. I thought Nona Hendrix. I thought Grace
Mhm.
Jones. I thought even Betty Davis from back in the day with that soul rock. I mean, you really like zeroed in and nailed it. What was it
Oh,
like
thank.
working on that project?
It was just, people go, it was a blessing, but it truly was because how you realize how your prayers from long ago come into fruition, and when it's happening, it's just happening,
Yeah.
and but when you sit still, then that's when you realize, wow, that's right, I asked for this. This is what, and it kind of, it's come to fruition. But it was good to see, prayers come to fruition, like I said, and concepts, Mhm.
Well, you have an incredible story as well. I understand that you came from a military family, and how was it just moving from place to place and being, in a situation that your dad was so regimented, and how did that shape you?
Yes, you said the right word, regimented. And I mean, for me, it was great. I know a lot of times people say uh, that when they're Army brat, Navy, or whatever the service might be, they um they say, "Oh, we moved around all the time." That was a bad thing, but we moved, I guess, maybe four times that I can remember of the different places from Washington State to Delaware, California, and Texas, Wichita Falls, Texas. So it was never, I don't remember any sad goodbyes, with friends and crying and, you know, on the bus, goodbye. Like it was never, it was just each place was a great place. And yes, regimen. My father was very regimented in just how, just everyday order in his life he had. And yep. And yeah, Air Force was a service that he served in. And I know these some of these things that he told, that he walked in, but I'm a work in progress on the organization, and you know, but I'm getting better, and even starting a day with not that mindfulness new age, but just being mindful,
Sure.
to have. okay, what's my intention today? Okay, it is
Hmm.
to, you know, okay, the Bible says you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Let me ask
Hmm.
for that strength. I'm not looking into the universe and all that. I think sometimes people take away the credit from God who created that person, and they put it in this new space of, the
Yeah.
universe like a big glob is leading them, but
Yeah.
not so. Thank
Not so.
God for leading and guiding, and the project just turned out to be great and work. I worked with some of the greatest musicians in the business. It was really
Sure.
awesome.
Sure. I understand. Well, with respect to this latest project, it was Leland Sklar, Michael
Mhm.
Landau. You had mentioned the Who's incredible song, Won't Get Fooled Again. What was the reasoning for going back to that particular cover when you guys thought about choosing that as a single?
Well, we the good thing is we came up with ideas together, and that whole cool thing about prayer. When you pray for something, a lot of times we pray and then we want it like right then, or
Yeah.
we're waiting for it at the end of the day or whatever. But
The toaster, pop it
right,
in
like pop
here.
up, right, or microwave, like ding, okay. But
Right.
it's really cool to know that I know I've been covered for my mother's prayers and others' prayers and folks, friends. And so when something comes into fruition, it's not as if, you know, um, it's happening right away. It's really something that someone, you know, prayed things would go,
Hmm.
say, well for me. And so then,
Hmm.
10 years later is when it's coming into fruition. But we said, he always says, you said it, you're the one who said you wanted it this way. But I
Right.
just thought of, opposed to it being like, oh, it's songs about all my relationships, or it's songs about things I've been through, my hurts, my pains, my joy. It's not really that. It's more, you know, um, what others go through. And then I
Okay.
find myself that I'm like others, opposed to I'm trying to tell my story. It's more so I'm trying to say how much we all are alike and in these different situations. So, like, and what's going on around us in the world is very important. I remember Nina Simone said that you've got to talk about what's going on around you,
Yeah.
you know, because
Absolutely.
if you don't, then no one really knows what era you're
Yeah.
singing from, or what was happening at that moment. You don't have to say time and date, but if someone knows that you're kind of singing, for me, it was just singing about what's going on in the world, some things maybe that I could change,
Hmm.
or some ways that I just feel, um, or something that could just be a great fit that I would say like others would enjoy. Like we have a song, probably is going to be the next single called "It Ain't Over," and it's
Hmm.
talking about crunch time in a any sport. Like it's not over until it's over.
Right.
So it's kind of got a big crowd screaming, it ain't over, it ain't
Hmm.
over. Do you really think that it's too late? It ain't. And so you hear like those players I was telling you about from
Yeah.
uh, um, Herman Jackson and Ray Brinker on drums. He did Won't Get Fooled Again, but these great musicians just like driving, the bus, and it's
Yeah.
almost like I'm riding, they're driving. But yeah, It Ain't Over. We did that one, because I said, I'm gonna do something that, can be heard by all people. Doesn't have to be about love or how, because we all go through hurt or pain, but
Sure.
something good. We all are pretty much some people like some sort of sports. But
Yeah.
that song just kind of came up. It ain't over, but definitely uh, conceptual album in the sense of um, what people want to hear because of what they're going through,
Hmm.
and then what they're going through just happens to be some of the things that I'm going through or I've gone through. But I really kind of wanted it to be more for them than
Hmm.
me pouring out my heart, kind of thing.
Understood. Well, listening to the entire project is very eclectic. Now, what type of music did you listen to growing up? Because it seems like you just pulled from all kinds of different influences.
Yeah, one thing I do remember very clearly is that when I was, I guess I was maybe 9 or something like that, we lived in England. My father's in the service and Air Force, and
Hmm.
he would wake us up by playing marching bands. So you'd hear ba 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 da 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 da, and I would just be like marching around the house. But we don't realize how, like, that helped me have good timing, to be able to hear different instruments in the
Hmm.
scope of a song. And but yeah, so my father listened to me a lot of music. He would always have on music in the home, from Harry Belafonte to, I remember we had this a tension pole, and it had albums on it.
Mm.
It looked like a pole, but maybe like 6 albums sat in a little file,
Sure.
but it was kind of like furniture in a sense, but I remember being uh, who did I say? Harry Belafonte, Isaac Hayes' album was up there in the front, and Earth, Wind and Fire were like the
the
premier
the
records we listened to.
go-tos,
But
huh?
yeah, but my father really, I would say, and my mother is a great singer, were the ones who kept the music going in the home. And then being in the service, the radio stations back in the day when I was a kid were playing all kinds of music. So you would hear
Sure.
Journey, you would hear James Taylor, you hear James Brown. So that's something that I guess you kind of can't get back, but it was a blessing to be able to that was poured into my ears.
Yeah. No, I can
Mhm.
dig that definitely. So, what drove you into? You knew then at 9, hey, this is it. I found my space. What drove you into the music industry? I know you said that, and I believe as you do that others were praying for you to set that path that God would have you on. But when did it click for you that, yep, I'm here. This is home.
Um, I'm thinking of that room in England again, where in the living room where I got a guitar. I was like, I know what it is. I know what it is. For Christmas, because it was shaped. You can't. It didn't come in a square box. It came in the shape of the
Sure.
guitar. But I really have to say thank you to my mom and dad, because they really, the influence of what they played in the home was always in my ears. But I think it's kind of like one of those things too. Uh, you're built for some things. Some people are built for certain things.
Hmm.
And, you know, I would just say that it was already in my, DNA to be musically thoughtful, I guess I would
Hmm.
say,
Hmm.
and just be connected to music. And then, like people say, you are what you eat. Whatever you're eating, it is going to go into you. So whatever you're feeding your soul with, or you're hearing,
That's
like I
right.
was saying with my parents, then it's like that just became part of me at a very, young age.
Hmm. With
Hmm.
respect to meeting Mr. Andre Crouch, one of my heroes, what was
Hmm.
that about? Because Andre was able to really do something very special for you. Could you tell us about that
Yeah,
experience?
I'm actually glad you brought that up, because it's reminding me. Oops, sorry. It's reminding me that how I was saying, sometimes people are praying for you, and you might even know who that person is. Or maybe somebody you asked to pray, or your grandmama. People say, "Oh, I got a praying grandma," but
Right.
I didn't have that. But I know my mother, and I grew up in Delaware, and our neighbors, the O'Neills, were folks who were always connecting me to the church, to and Christ-like things. But as you're talking about Andre, I know, oh, you know what? That's right. That I asked him to pray for me. Like, I don't know, it
Yeah.
was maybe like a week after I came into um, California. This gentleman came to L.A. I went to see this. It was a huge artist, and this gentleman worked with him in jazz field. And he goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna help you." And so I came out to LA, didn't quite tell the whole story to my, mom and dad. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going and I'm going to stay with this guy's sister." And they're like, "What? You didn't even know these people?" But that didn't even turn out that way. It changed up. But I definitely need to write a book. But uh, with the maybe the third day I was here, the person who was supposed to help me, like he worked for this big artist, and the artist was working at the Grammys, and this was like the We Are the World years, where everybody was at that event. And then he said, "Okay, yeah, I can get you to the Grammys, this and that." And then it turned out that he couldn't and did not, but that was okay because you know, God just knows. The Bible says that um, uh, the hairs on our head are numbered. So it's kind of like he definitely cares. Like, I think he kind of
Absolutely.
cares about you. And he's got some things in store for you already because he knows what you're supposed to do and
Right.
be. But backstage, I ended up getting in the Grammys. God, how did I get that pass? I got crazy stories. But from Stevie Wonder to Marie Osmond, she
Hmm.
was like, she doesn't even know. She was a huge help in my career. But I was backstage at the Grammys, and I think this was before everything was starting, or I know it was during. And I saw Andre Crouch. I was like, "Ooh, let me go over to him and ask him to pray for me because this person said they're going to help me. Now they're not. I only have $35. I need them to help me." And then I asked him to pray for me, and he did. And so, I have to say thank the Lord for Andre because I'm sure that the prayer, like I said, is so good um, to have praying friends and just people, even sitting in a church and they're going to pray for the people who are young or the elderly or whatever, that you can be in a group and not even realize someone's looking out for you. But
Sure.
I definitely asked for that prayer, and so I know that those words definitely came into fruition. But meeting him, that was like, whoa. I mean, it was crazy because Michael Jackson was back there, Lionel Richie, um, Stevie Wonder, and a bunch of folks backstage, and I'm just like looking around, like as if I was standing in New York on Times Square, looking at these folks. And then big blessing is like, wow, I ended up working with some of those folks. So God is pretty great.
Absolutely. I began this episode by naming some incredible people that you've had the pleasure of working with. If I were to call out some of their names, how would you describe them, say, in one word? Like, for
Okay.
example, if we said Jeffrey Osborne, what would be the first word that comes to mind?
A few things came to my mind actually at one, like right back to each other. But wow, how can I say in one word? Um, I'd say voice. His voice is so, his tone and just the way he delivers a song is pretty
Yeah,
amazing. Great
yeah.
voice,
Absolutely, absolutely. LTD, my
right?
favorite song by them, "Concentrate on You." It's like,
That's my favorite song by them.
is that right?
That, yes. Oh
My
my
favorite.
gosh.
Yeah, I mean, just an
Whew.
incredible, incredible song. And
Yeah,
and
the
like
in
you
the
said, his
way,
delivery.
bam, because he could sing, "You're a silhouette of splendor, I love." I'm like, no, but he took his time to like just mince the words, like
Yeah,
you really believe it. I
absolutely.
believe you, Jeffrey. Mm.
Absolutely. You have a one word for Gladys Knight.
Mm, I guess I'd say the first word that came to mind was consummate, but then amazing because she just cut it like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like once, twice, okay, I'm done. Like okay, you are done. Not like do it again, do it again. BeBe Winans is another person who can just come in and just lay something down and be done momentarily, but he's gonna go, wait a minute, let me do it again. Let me try again. Like, don't mess with it, don't mess with it. But another great singer.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
We know that both, Luther and Whitney are no longer with us, but any immediate words that come to mind?
Well, when I went on tour with Whitney in Europe, and the last day was in Paris, I think we ended, and then I went to her dressing room and gave her a hug, and then she said, how did she say this? Keep singing for the Lord, she said. And I was just kind of like, I thought to myself, I think at that time I'd been in a gospel group before. But I kind of took that as in, what you're doing, you've got to have uh, reason, so it has to have a theme, a thought,
Yeah.
some mission in the song. And it doesn't have to be gospel and, you know, old school, religion. It
Right.
just has to be, what are you saying? You
Sure.
know, um, but so, yeah, that I just do remember her saying that, keep singing for the Lord. And it kind of made me go, what does she know about what I've done? Because I never really said anything about this gospel group I was in before. But, when I sit still and you go like, okay, Bible says only what you do for Christ will last. It doesn't have to be building a church, but what are you doing? So something for me
Absolutely.
to even ponder at this moment.
Hmm.
Yeah, but Whitney was very. Oh, you said one word. I'm changing the
That's
rules,
right.
but no.
Okay.
She first to me, it's always great when someone's a cool person. Like when I met you, I was like, okay, this person's gonna be my friend. It's not like it feels pretentious or anything at all. It's like this is a good uh hearted man because I can, you know, um, feel your spirit and your heart as you speak. So it's kind of funny. It's like, how does anybody think they're going to get out of being themselves? you know, it's just
True.
a matter of what I can hear you saying when you're saying
Yes.
what you're saying. But yeah, Whitney she was funny, funny, and you know, just another kind soul. East Coast girl, Newark. We're heading to Newark. We're heading to you. I'm just going to be heading to Newark, New Jersey tomorrow. But yeah, great, sweet heart, and of course, uh, magical voice.
What about Mr. Vandross?
I always think of the funny stuff usually pops in my head. When we were in the studio, we were singing a song. Was it Different Lifestyles? I think it was called. But I remember the is that no? How can I prove what I'm saying? No, it wasn't. The album was called Different Lifestyles. But he when we were recording, it was BeBe was singing background too, and Luther was singing background, and another young lady and I. And so, recording the background, I'm going, "Oh, this is crazy." I'm standing right next to Luther. This is crazy. And before we left, he goes, "Oh, you know what? You have a great tone." And that's something that I never forgot. I was like, okay, let me look up tone. I think I know what tone means. It's like, let me get all of the word tone because if he's saying it, I want to make sure that that I understand the definition and not just it means you sing well or something.
Right.
But that was a nice little uh little kind words that he said. Mhm.
Now, it's interesting because you spent quite a great deal of time with the Fifth Dimension. And
Mhm.
again, that's why I thought, man, where are your influences coming from? And the time that you spent with them, tell us a little bit about that.
Um, well, see, because of my father and mother's influence in music, I knew some of those songs already. Because people
Hmm.
would say, "How are you in this band? You're too young to be in the band." But
Hmm.
I took the place of Marilyn, and Florence was still in the band.
Yeah.
And but I knew the Up Up and Away, and uh, What's the other one? One less
Aquarius.
bell to answer, egg to fry. These are, man, just thinking it's like these voices. Marilyn had an amazing smooth voice, and what they're singing about is just a real life story,
Right.
but yeah, working with them, that was great. So it was so like I say, I took Marilyn's spot, but Florence did not let me sing One Less Bell. She sung that bad boy. I thought I was about to, I was like, oh, I'm about to sing. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're not.
You're
So
not going
yeah,
to do it.
that you're not gonna do. Like all these years of work, hard work, and I'm about to let you. I get it though. I get
Oh,
it. I got it. That's real. I know I would have been like, yeah,
right.
I'm sing that. Yeah, but
it, it's real interesting too because you spent some time on backgrounds with Milli Vanilli. What an interesting experience that must have been, especially when everything kind of fell through.
yeah, that I forget sometimes how I got gigs. I'm like, how did I get that? I do know how I got the Whitney gig. I do remember that,
Hmm.
but I don't know. There's a gentleman named Bruce Sterling. Google him. He did so much for me and got me into getting a lot of gigs, like a lot of things on Arsenio. He would just call and say, "Okay, Babyface is going to be on Arsenio. Okay, Pebbles. Okay, Babyface is doing this show here." Um, but Bruce Sterling, that's my brother. So you were asking about
The Milli
Florence?
Vanilli
Oh, Milli
experience.
Vanilli, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I can't even remember. That's a shame how I got that gig, but they were just two guys who, from a different country, of course, and everyone knows, they weren't singing. It was another gentleman singing,
Yeah.
and but we were singing live on stage. So I guess that is what kind of gave it a realness, too. And so it wasn't just like we're all lip syncing,
Yeah.
but two, kind gentlemen. I guess someone said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" They said, "Yeah," and they did their thing. One of them had a dog they had on the road, so cute, and I was like, oh, "Okay, I get it. Chick magnet,
Ah.
pretty
Ah.
smart."
Ah. Yeah.
But because all the women would be like, "The dog." Of course, these guys were attractive too.
Yeah.
But nice, nice gentlemen. Uh, that was that. I just have to say thank you to the Lord because these crowds and the size of the crowds of the artists that I've sung with, from Whitney to where you just can't see the last person. That's how that was with Milli Vanilli too.
Mm.
You know, uh,
Wow.
Great musicians. I did a session with uh, the sax player. It was about a year ago. We came back into contact, but yeah, just great. Um, they had great songs, and that's
Hmm.
what made them popular. And they had the whole package of what the package was supposed to look like,
Sure.
back then. Uh,
Sure.
but yeah, they were very kind gentlemen.
Hmm. Well, tell me then, because you were able to see the different decades of the way "quote unquote" music changed, and I'm not just talking about the sound of music or the genres of music or the segmentation of music, but you also were there, and Milli Vanilli would be a good example of when the whole marketing really just kind of altered a little bit, where it was more of a package and a look than it was just say raw, stand up with your microphone on your flat feet and sing it out and belt it. This really is, to me, as I look back on that time, where the packaging just became more important than the talent. Would you say that would be accurate assessment?
Accurate assessment. Yeah, that things change from uh, you know, back in the day where you just push record and start playing, recording. So that's actually how we did this album. We just went in and did each song maybe twice live. It's like, okay, if we do have to go back and do overdubs, we did them right there.
Yeah,
But it wasn't
yeah.
like over and over and over again or piecing the song together. We
One
wanted
word
the
or a syllable. We got to get that
right, like,
syllable.
right, go back, go
Right.
back, go back. But I've sung on records where people ask you to, like I'm like it's funny because people may say, "Oh, can you do it again?" And sometimes, in all reality, as a singer, you're like, let me just do all the parts because
Mhm.
it's better. I can do it faster. If I can be the uh, alto, soprano, tenor, and then you can knock it out, and you won't pay so much for the studio,
Gotcha.
opposed to getting multiple people and somebody's not getting it. You know,
Right,
but
right.
Yeah, that takes up time. And actually, that's something I learned through Bobby Cavanis, my brother Bobby Cavanis. He I did my first session in LA, and it was me, well, someone else, myself, and I think it was three girls, and I'd never done a session before. So I'm like, wow, it's in Hollywood. I'm on this, right in the middle of, right by the Pantages. No, not the Pantages. What is that where Jimmy Kimmel's done? Can't think of if it's
Mhm.
Pantages, might not be right. But, like, wow, I'm looking outside. It's Hollywood Boulevard, right on Hollywood Boulevard. It's great. Did this song, and whatever the song was, they were saying, okay, you go ba da da, and you go ba da da, you go ba da da. Okay, that's the background. And the one girl, she could not get the. Say if you were saying searching for, looking for, she was going searching for, look like, and I was like, whoa, she's way off. So I said to myself, wow, this is a blessing that I can hear this.
Sure.
First of all, not everybody can.
Right.
And as we see in some of these shows now the that are reality music shows,
Yeah.
and they keep asking the people to sing in different ways. When it's like, if I'm a country artist, I don't want to sing, blues right now. I don't want to.
Right.
I want to
Right.
shoot. I want to showcase, who I am. But so, as the years of, from back in the day, we knew things were usually press record and people in there smoking and singing at the same time and just but getting the take, and then it moved to, okay, fake, background in there that you've already done and you can sing the lead over it, or it's
Mhm.
like, the background singers sing it all and then the lead, they're gone, and then the next day the lead person just keeps doing playback to get it
Right.
right. So, but then there are those who also just have the people live in the building, and just in the room and hit it a few times. And that's, I think, where you get the sweetness and like soul of the music.
Certainly.
And nowadays it's not, it's just like, you know, you can do it in your
Certainly.
bedroom and it can sound amazing,
Yeah.
musically. Um, I just always want to hear, what is your story? What are you saying? And do I
Mhm.
feel it? And do I understand it? It doesn't have to be that it's music that I love, but, when that just kind of makes me cringe on those TV shows when they have the artist. Some of the people aren't even artists, actually.
Sure.
They're not. They're just like singers on the show, trying to,
Right.
standing in line hoping to get a record deal that
Right.
they'll probably, well, I won't go there. But but yeah, it's definitely from back in the day, hitting record and
Mhm.
being in the room, to now you can change it. Because it's funny now, what folks do is they look at the music
Mm.
and watch, you know, the meter change and go, oh wait, you sung a little bit louder than you did when you
Mm.
said love you
Right.
now. So they're looking at, that's how they're what do you call it, mixing it, like, wait, what are we doing? I'm supposed to just be singing, right? I'm just supposed to be in my tone. If I went a little off here, that's okay. Not like, oh no, wait a minute, I'm looking at this, I see where your voice pitch changed right there, and that's crazy. But
Yeah, it's
that's kind of how it
interesting.
sometimes works.
Very, very interesting. Well, oddly enough, I've asked you about all of these wonderful singers and artists, but there's just one more that I will ask you about. If you could describe this person in one word, what would be the first word that comes to your mind? Now, you did admit that back in the day, your dad had albums stacked up, and amongst them was an Earth, Wind, and Fire album. So if I were to say the name Philip Bailey to you, how would you describe Philip in one word?
No, okay, one word. He's gonna bust through the door and like, don't you say that. Well, the first word, you didn't ask me Well, you said describe him in one word, not the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Um, he is, golly, gosh, I'm getting choked up. He is um, a gift, I'll say, because not just to me, but to the world to like, and I don't think he kind of grasps it, he's, to know like how people really care. Like someone, I was just went on my messenger and a girl sent me something on Facebook. We were friends for a long time, and I just realized, oh wow, you've been sending me messages and I haven't been responding as I didn't even, I don't really go on Messenger like that. I don't
Hmm.
so much, I mean, I understand it, but
Sure.
it's like, just text me. But
Yeah.
we met through Facebook, so of course I'm not giving everybody my personal information. But she sent me something today, and it's her birthday, and it was so cool. Like when she walked into the office, they had these little
Mm.
fire, kind of confetti, kind of hanging from the ceiling, and I think they were playing Boogie Wonderland or something.
Hmm.
And they had her boss tied up with his mouth taped up,
Mm.
and she said the people were saying, "You don't have to hear from him all day." He's not going to talk to you. He's not going to bother you. And I was like, that's hilarious. But
Absolutely.
she's like, I'm Earth and Fire's number one fan, and people shared many stories with me. But I would say, yeah, that Philip is such a a gift, because of his heart. If I can kind of put it,
Yeah.
you know, uh, sort of uh, one word ish, but a gift that the world just keeps unwrapping from the different ages of the mom, the aunt, the kids realizing the songs, and then just a really great, kind, caring, loving,
Hmm.
uh, man, and he's super funny. He you won't really catch that, if you or just saying if he's saying hello to you or something, it's like, oh, nice to meet you. He's not gonna crack you up or nothing. That's my department.
I hear
But
you.
yeah, Philip Bailey, I would say, is gifted, like just such a huge, I'm trying to, instead of saying amazing,
Yeah.
it's like a gift that keeps being unwrapped.
Well, it's interesting because that was not the word, even though that's a good word, that was not the word that I was expecting you to say. And for those who are watching this podcast or listening to it, the reason I asked is because I thought that one word would be husband.
Well, that came to my
Because
mind, but you said to describe, that came to my mind,
that's
but I was
true.
like, that's the first thing that came to my mind. But then I'm like, on the real, something that people want to know about
Yeah.
this person who's just walking down the street, like, you know, you wouldn't want to tap and go, "Are you Valerie's what husband?" Or like, "Aren't you an Earth, Wind, and Fire?" But it's like to know, like, man, that guy over there, his
Yeah.
wife said he is a gift and that he is a blessing, and that he's been through a lot, but he's grown through it and better for it, and um, he shares, and so I get obviously the blessing of all of this gift, just walking down the street you
Absolutely.
might not, but yeah, so I'm just saying in totality, to me he's my husband, and but a great gift to me. I just look at him and go, wow, when I saw you on that Spirit album, in the living room, I never thought like, what, you gonna marry that
Yeah.
guy? No, no.
Wow. It's amazing that is. I'm not just saying this, but that Spirit is my favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire album,
Yeah.
hands down, hands down. And it's hard to have a favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire album. That's a hard thing to do. But Spirit, that just kind of changed the game on their genius of the synergy and all of them coming together. So many great songs from that. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
kudos, of course, to Maurice, who came up with the whole concept and created
certainly.
it, and how it's just another thing where God knows what He's doing. Like He knew long ago that these gentlemen would come together, and you
Absolutely.
know make this music and that it would heal folks, and from smiles to healing hearts. It's like, wow, it's pretty cool to be a part of that.
So, would you mind telling us how the two of
Would
you
you
met?
mind? Doo-doo. If I touched, if I kissed, if I held you tight. Okay,
I
he
wasn't
made me say
expecting that one. But
it.
would you mind telling us the love story of how the two of you came together? I thought it might have been something to do with singing and your path crossed in the studio or on stage or something like that.
Yeah,
But that's mine. Is that what
yeah,
is that what happened?
yeah, you're right.
Oh,
You are
oh.
right. So where this gentleman, OG Pierce, um,
Hmm.
who was an amazing friend, producer, writer, musician, keyboard player, he could play all instruments. OG OJI, if you Google him, Pierce, Pierce, he wrote the
Hmm.
song "This Is How We Do It."
Yeah, yeah.
He and Montel Jordan, is that the right Montel?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
mixing up the Montels. But I would always do background work for OG, so he called me in, came to the studio. When I came in, Philip was in there, and then he said, "Hey, me, Phil." They were doing some project together. Said hello, and then he told Philip, "Man, if you want the background done right, you need to
Mm.
hire her." So then I just kind of smiled, and then maybe like a year later, he called and said, "Hey, I got your number from OG. I'm doing this thing in Japan. You know, would you like to USO tour?" I go, "Oh, sure, sure." So, became friends there. I remember it was beautiful, like Guam, different places, and funny stories throughout that time. But he what was I going to say? Okay, so yeah, I was just thinking about, so I got bit on the lip by this insect, and it was
Ah.
ridiculous. That was a whole little funny joke thing that just went across my mind slowly, of like, oh yeah, that we had a whole joke about, because my lip was like,
Oh my.
singing with a little fat lip, because Japan, crazy insects and stuff.
Mm.
Something got me, but we had a big joke about it. But yes, I was in studio, and OG says, "Hey, if you need right background," I heard, did it, called me, and I knew he was married at the time, so I'm not even thinking about that man. I'm just thinking, I'm on tour and I'm about to get paid. That's what I'm thinking. It's like, I'm with, I know we're gonna do Earth, Wind, Fire songs. This is great. This is great. And then it's like really cool people out there. So that's what I was thinking in my mind. And uh, then, you know, to me, it's not him. He wasn't even on my radar, because it's like this person, and that, it wasn't even like I was looking at him like, oh, this person's married. It's just like, I'm working. This is great.
Yeah.
Somebody, if somebody's married, you're not really thinking about their life or whatever. You're just like, okay, yeah, I know I'm working with Gladys, and I know she's married at this time. I'm
Yeah.
not thinking about the intricacies of her life or anything, because I'm not even, looking in that direction. But
Hmm.
so that was cool. We became friends, and then years later, um, a dear friend of his passed, and I knew that um, uh, he knew him. So I was like, "Oh, I wonder if he knows." Though he's probably on the road. And then I connected with him at that time, where, I said, "Hey, did you know?" And he's, "Yeah, I know. I'm headed back to LA." And I was like, "Oh, wow." And at that time, then he wasn't married at that time,
Hmm.
and then, even then, I was just like, okay, now I connected as a friend, and we became
Hmm.
friends, and it was like few some years after that. Took some time. I'm doing a that was him. He just looked around. I don't know what he's looking for. But so yeah, so it was like years after that, so I met him at OG's,
Hmm.
worked, years went on, and you know, uh then we did something with another great artist, Robert Brookins.
Hmm.
And, he
Yeah.
was an MD for Earth, Wind and Fire.
Hmm.
And yep. that's how we connected and met.
Wow. Well, Earth Wind is just, they're bigger than life, to be quite honest with you. And what I said about Spirit, I was just a little kid when Spirit came out, but it instantly became, and I don't keep your head to the sky and that's the way of the world and all of that. But when Spirit came out, that just really triggered something in me. But years later, I was able to purchase both of Maurice and Philip's book. And just interestingly, I read Maurice White's book first because, obviously he was the leader, he was the
Mm,
visionary. And then, Philip being by his side for so many years, I wanted to get the perspective. And it's interesting when you read them side by side, how they
mm,
share similar experiences, but from two different perspectives.
mhm.
Why the leader made the decision, why the sideman didn't necessarily think that that was the best decision to make, but they moved on, and the synergy that they had was just absolutely. So I would, anyone who's in music, in the history of Earth, Wind, and Fire, these are two must-haves because they're just great books. But the fact that he found a Valerie and he found in her a friend and a singer. And if my understanding is correct, you also have a foundation called ifoundme.org.
That was a good
Right?
little segue you did there. A good little
Well,
segue.
I do this from time to time.
You're like, oh, I kind of do this, and I kind of did my homework.
Yeah, from time to time
Yeah,
I do this.
yes,
So
yes, yes.
tell us a little bit about I Found Me.
So actually, it's a song that I wrote um, watching Oprah Winfrey interview Lance Armstrong's ex-wife.
Hmm. Hmm.
She she was speaking about how when she lost Lance, she found herself. And I was like, "Ooh, that's a good title. I found me." So I was listening to what she was saying. She was like, "I found out I was funny, and I did different things." Oh, okay. Found out I was funny. What's the lyric? Found out I was funny. Found out I was strong. I found out so many things that were inside me all along. So it's basically talking about how she said she lost her sense of humor, she lost her confidence, she lost herself along the way. It doesn't make much sense, but when she lost Lance,
Mm.
she found herself. She's saying, and it usually when I sing it, folks are like, "Oh my gosh, that's my life," or divorce, or death, or helping a friend through drug addiction, and I lost myself helping this person. And then when the person went on to either pass away or the relationship end, you start finding more about yourself because you're so busy taking care of her or trying to be uh, not so much the best you can, but you're busy trying to take care of somebody else,
Sure.
and you're losing yourself in the midst of it. So with I Found Me, wrote that song. And we recorded at Capitol Records. I sung on Nat King Cole's microphone,
Mm.
16-piece orchestra. That was like crazy, cool moment. And then I said, you know what, I want to do something. I've always had like a connection with people who are unhoused and uh, actually lived very close to Skid Row, where, you could turn a corner and something totally change,
Sure.
and so I was friends with with folks in that area. And now I work with this organization also called Creating Justice LA, and it's off of Fifth Street in like Fifth and Broadway, and they help anyone they can, from the unhoused to uh, people who are just you know going through things and looking for employment too. Uh, Ko Anderson and uh, I see his face is big. It's Pastor Q. They run it. They have a open mic night on Thursdays. This place is great. So if you Google Creating Justice LA, anybody can walk through the door. They have a place called Inside Hip Hop Smoothie Shop,
Mm.
and Nickelodeon put it all together. It's beautiful inside, and Creating Justice LA, if you want to check that out. So I'm the director for the women in that organization, but started something with myself. I found me and thought, what? It'd be good to have like, how can I get to the people? Because it's hard for people to get to you. Usually, if you're unhoused, you live downtown, you can't get to Pasadena, or it'll be hard pressed,
Sure.
to get bus pass and all of that. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to purchase a bus, got it painted, furnished it. And so it's like a safe haven for people just to come upon, have coffee, hot chocolate, and you don't talk about your trauma. You just talk about um, basically uh, your dreams. And then we try to make those things happen for people. But it's a safe haven in the place. If you come on, relax, you hear music, you may just say, I just want to sit here. You don't have to tell us anything about your story. It's just a place to come and sit. If you want to share and if there's things you need, we try to make that happen for you. I have a bunch of clothing that I've just excess. And so I, you know, drive around and give that away also. But ifoundme.org is an organization. If you go to, as you see there at the bottom, IamValerieBailey.com, you can ask me questions on there. If there's something you need or a dream you want realized, that's basically our mission to help folks out.
Wow. That's beautiful. That really is. Well, I'm certainly so very grateful that you decided to hang out with me today and hang out with
Yeah.
all of us who are watching at the Entree Musician. I know that you do tons of interviews, so I'm very grateful. Perhaps there was a question that you thought I was definitely going to ask you, and for some reason it didn't come up in our conversation. But is there anything else that you wanted to add or answer the unasked question before we go?
Look at Jury. He's a great interviewer. So, people just, not that they, definitely you can tell he's done this a few times. But is there something that mm, I guess I would say to the singer, to the songwriter, to the producer, the person who has this maybe vision in their head, make sure that it's in your heart.
Mm,
Because in your head, it probably be a little bit harder work to do. But if you have something within your heart or dream, be it music or be it, this is what I found me tries to help folks do. Uh, you may say, I've always wanted to learn accounting so I can own
mm,
my own accounting firm. We want to help those folks, whoever, you can be unhoused or not. But I, one thing I don't want is the unhoused to be forgotten just because they live outdoors. Doesn't mean you
yeah,
don't have a dream.
true.
So, uh, I actually ran into when I was at Creating Justice LA, and uh, some politicians came down when it first opened, and city folks, and I said, "Hey, if I had this jacket on, it looked like it was spray, kind of looked like this, but it was leather,
Hmm.
and well, let's say pleather. It was not leather, but this man in the audience said, "Hey, I said, if you have any other questions, just tap me because I'm gonna be walking around, so I could just, you know, exit the stage." And then he said, "Do you help men too?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And then he told me later on, he's like, "Yeah, I'm high right now, but sorry." And I go, "No need to, to apologize." And then he said, I'm actually an artist, and he was, I didn't know him, but I told a friend of mine, "Oh, I met this guy." And she goes, "I lightweight stalk him on Instagram." And I
Mm,
was like, "Oh, wow, really?" But so things happen to us all,
hmm.
you know. So I
Absolutely.
would just admonish the listener, if there's something that's going on with you that you just like, wow, I can't believe this is happening, or something you've struggled with. Doesn't have to be addiction, it can just be anxiety, or I was talking to someone the other day. What did they say they were struggling with? And I was like, wow, that's kind of being overwhelmed. And it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be something that's like a disease or
Sure.
uh, all, but so being that I also a certified life coach, so I kind of blend that into the I found me to be able to, just like I said, sit on the bus, help people with their everyday questions of what they might want to do business wise or dream, or just sit and chat.
Yeah.
But I would just want to say to folks, if you have a dream, it's in your head and your heart for a reason. If it's something that you feel is coming from your heart that you just you want to do, I would say go to IamValerieBailey.com and let me know what that is, and I'll do whatever's in my power to be able to help you to, realize your dream, and just know that you're created for a reason. So, you don't want to leave the planet, without uh, realizing your dream. And if you're
Absolutely.
stuck even thinking you do want to leave the planet, that's another thing you can call and talk to us about. Just met a lady the other day I'm working in a group with for this organization out here in the Inland Empire, and we went to a meeting together. She invited me to, and she said that she had some suicidal thoughts, and I would have never thought that sitting next to her, 2 days prior.
Yeah.
So definitely, I'm here for folks. So I am ValerieBailey.com. You can ask me questions or something you need. If you see that green bus, it looks like the color of Tiffany and Company. Won't be me. Stop and say hey or flag me down. And look out for the Won't Get Fooled Again is on Spotify and all the platforms. And our next venture, I believe, is going to be It Ain't Over, and you'll hear that being played at NFL games and everything that's happening now, NFL, NBA,
Yeah.
and God is good.
He is good. I thank him for the opportunity to have met you and to have talked to you. I trust and pray this won't be the last time that we get
Oh,
together
no,
for
no,
a
no, no.
conversation like this.
Yes, well, I'm going to see you when I come to Ohio.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be looking
Without
for you.
fail. Yes, ma'am. Just hit me up. Boom. I'm in the car. Okay.
Call me if you need someone to talk to. Remember that? Everything's a song
I
for me.
do. Call me. Yep. Yep. I'm with it.
Satisfaction. Okay, look, we're going to talk after the interview, y'all. Bye for now.
Oh, bye for now. Many blessings to you. That's going to do it for this episode of the Entree Musician. Valerie Bailey. I am ValerieBailey.com. Check her website out. Wonderful person, man, beautiful spirit, wonderful organization, ifoundme.org, which you can get that through IamValerieBailey.com. That's what we do here at the Entree Musician. I want you to like, share, tell everybody you know about the Entree Musician. Tell 12 people you don't, okay? Because that's what we do here. We make it happen. Peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the Entree Musician, but you know what's most important. So are you. We will see you again next time. God bless.